on pushing. Got to keep on pushing on. Through the wind and rain, through this heavy storm. I'm a low-board trucker, I'm a low-board trucking man. I've got 18 wheels and 40 tons of metal in my hands. I got a white line fever burning through my veins. I got white line fever speeding like a hurricane. And my twin stacks burning, got my twin stacks both ablaze. Hear my engine rattle mercy, disappearing into the haze. I'm a long-haul trucker, I'm a long-haul trucking man. I carry my load, across the land. Sunrise up in front of me, sunrise at my back. I pass by my windshield, all in different paths. From the urban ghettos to the underclass, to the high-flying rulers, the old woman I got. I'm a lone trucker, I'm a lone trucking man. I carry my load all across this land. Wiggle, wiggle, one day, I'm on my road going home. I'm a roadway rebel, yeah, but this my highway song.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio. You just heard Long Haul Trucker, and that is from the Full Service, well, the album. It's Full Service Resumed. It's the latest album from the Pat McManus Band out in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and it releases worldwide on October 8th through the Store for Music. You can get it now, even you can stream it now, but it's always good to get the actual copy in your hands. And once you get this album, you're going to be like me. You're just going to keep playing it over and over. If you play it in the car, you may get a speeding ticket because it just totally rocks. It is a badass album. So go to patmcmanus.co.uk. And so excited to have Pat here. Pat, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Lisa. Lovely to be talking to you, actually, all the way from sunny Ireland here.
Sunny Ireland. So
or
you're
not too sunny, whichever way.
Yeah, well, actually,
Sorry?
today we actually have sunshine. We're in Georgia for today, and it's been raining nonstop,
wow.
but it's sunny now, and it does feel like autumn. It's we're right. Suddenly it went from really, really hot and humid to it's cold. It's cold for us.
Well, it's pretty cold here all the time, Lisa.
we never did get to your neck of the woods. We used to live in England, but we never got up in your way. But just this album, Full Service Resumed, I like the title too. I think a lot of us are going to feel like that once COVID gets over too. This album just really, it's amazing to me about your music, how you rock it out, like just not over cluttered. It's just like, let's just rock it out, and it just rocks, right? But then you bring in these Celtic influences in there too.
Well, I tend to, when I'm in the studio, it's very, very quick. And because I think, I try to capture the heart and the essence of what the band's about and what the music's about, and we leave it at that. We don't go over the top with big productions, and then it just, to me, it's mindless at the end. You squeeze whatever feeling is in the song out of the song. So I just tend to lay it down as it is and hope for the best and hope that it turns out okay, and normally it generally does, because I have a fair idea of how sonically I would like it to sound, and it's pretty much very honest, So when we play live, we can play it pretty accurately and pretty close to what the album is about as well. So, from that point of view, we're a 3-piece band, so there's nowhere to hide, Lisa, So we kind of keep it simple,
Yeah, you're wearing your rock and roll on your sleeve when you get out there, and I think that's the beauty of it. Sometimes it just gets so much, like it becomes a chore to listen, and it shouldn't be for the listener. You know what I mean? You just it should be easy.
I just try to keep the essence. Yeah, I try to keep the essence of the spirit of the original idea there, and get it down so it feels fresh to us when we actually play. So when we get it in the recording studio, we just go in. We're excited to play it, and I think that's a very important part, that you don't actually get tired of playing the track, because so many times that just, the people hone it down and keep honing it down until there's actually no spirit left in the track at all. So from our point of view, it's just bang, 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 get it done and get it down there, and it is what it is at the end of the day, Well, so if it reaches people and it touches people, well, then even better again,
Yeah, you speaking of bang, bang, you've got the Pyromaniac, one of the tracks, Bang, Bang. That song, I think that's going to, like, for American audiences, it's definitely like hardcore, got the Celtic vibe. And I mean, it is, to play that live and to hear it live and experience that, I think I'd get in trouble. I'd jump off of something, or I don't know, but I think American audience will identify with it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you said about the Celtic vibe, and there is actually violin and bouzouki on it as well, So they're playing in the track, so it probably lends itself to that, where you get the feeling that there's a little Celtic touch to it, But I also think it's very American and bluesy as well, because my heart lies in playing. I play traditional folk Irish music, and also I just love the blues rock of the 70s. That's where the period I grew up on, and that's the part that really has a special place in my heart, those two types of music. And believe it or not, I think there's a cross-pollination between the two types of music. The Irish music is the blues of Ireland, and the American blues. So I could identify with that big time, and it means a lot to me. It's the feeling that's in both types of music that I try to get across. And, that's to me what it's all about at the end of the day. It's just, creating a little feeling to the listener, when you're doing those stuff. So I do lean heavily on my folk instruments as well on the album, which is nice, and it always adds a lovely texture and flavour to what we do,
You've got a lot of high adrenaline, and then at the same time, you've got songs like Crystal Sky, and His Soul Remains With Me. There are certain songs that to me also go into like a Gary Moore style. I know I want to close the conversation with Belfast City Blues. I know that's a song from back in your Mama's Boys days. Actually, we are friends with the Johnny Mastro and the Mama's Boys over here in the States. So I was like, we got two Mama's Boys going on here. But I know you guys are based out of Ireland and getting that name when you were really young. And just
hey, Lisa, we were first there. Lisa,
you were there.
Were first.
You were first. I know
came
you were.
after us.
I know
Yeah,
they did,
but
and it's a
I know the
different
band.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the band you're talking about, and they're fantastic as well. Absolutely great musicians and a great band in general, you know. So yes, there was the odd bit of confusion, you know, as to who it was, but you know, I know those guys really well. They're awesome, you know, and you know, my mama's boys, those days are long gone, so we have no issue with that whatsoever, you know.
No. He's, Johnny, I know he even gives a link over to you guys going, that's the Irish Mama's Boys. He's, so it's really cool what they do on their site for you too. But that Gary Moore style was something I grew up with, as a kid, listening to Gary Moore. And when he passed away, it just like, it broke so many of our hearts, and just when I listen to your music, I'm like, there's that
Yeah.
simplified, just listen to it. It's when I say simplify, I'm not saying anything negative. You're just getting to the heart of it. And so you feel that, you go from the high adrenaline to, oh, I'm all immersed in this just really bluesy
Well, you
feeling.
know, growing up, Gary was there was three guitar players in Ireland that were my heroes, and the first was Eric Bell from Thin Lizzy. The second was Rory Gallagher,
Oh, yeah.
and of course Gary Moore. And I was very fortunate to have toured with Gary in the mid '80s, you know. So that was just, for me, it was like, I'd died and gone to heaven, you know. Just watching Gary play was just an experience I'll never ever forget. And I would try and learn and watch him play, but he was just a force unto himself. He was, in my eyes, he was a total genius, And so I have a track on the Full Service Resumed, which is a tribute to Gary, and it's called Belfast Boy, and that is actually a tribute to Gary himself. Like you, I was absolutely devastated when Gary passed away, because believe it or not, Lisa, I had spoken to him maybe 4 months prior to that. A conversation at the house, and we were talking about his album As Close as It Gets, and he's going, oh, it's rubbish, and I go, Gary, you wouldn't know how to do rubbish, and he laughed, So we had a lovely little conversation, and it was such a surprise when I heard the sad news, that he had passed. So I wrote that little song, Belfast Boy. There's two Belfast songs on that album. If you listen to Belfast Boy, it's a tribute to Gary, So when you get the chance, have a listen again to it. It's just my way of saying thank you for everything you did, and for putting Northern Ireland in the spotlight as well, because let's face it, during that period of time in the late 60s, early 70s, there wasn't much to smile about in Northern Ireland, and Gary and Thin Lizzy and those bands were, it was our way out of all the mess that we were in over here, So it was a beautiful thing, and there were guys we could look up to and think, yeah, there is a way out of here, when we looked at what they were doing, So they were the inspiration behind us getting into the rock side of things, So Gary plays a big part in my life, really.
And Rory Gallagher, oh my God, I just think of him too. It's just I love talking about these guys because I want to keep their flame burning. I don't want people to forget them, and I don't think you would. Once you're a fan, you're a fan. And just with listening to your music, I'm like, yay, this is exciting for me, and to listen to your album.
Yeah, well, I drew heavily on, as I said to you, we drew heavily on Rory. Rory was the first real rock star out of Ireland, and Thin Lizzy and U2 and all, they all followed afterwards, but Rory set the benchmark for everybody. Even Gary would say that, he would say, no, Rory was there first. He was the one who actually laid the foundations down, and I don't think you would have had the likes of U2 or that if it hadn't been for Rory. Mm-hmm. Because you might think, well, how does that come? They're not really on a par. But what happened was Rory invested in a magazine in Ireland called The Hot Press, and it exposed younger bands. He financed it, and he exposed young bands and allowed them to get exposed to the media and for people to recognise the work and the talent that was done in Ireland. So not alone was Rory just a great musician, but he gave a leg up to every other musician in Ireland today. And if it hadn't been for him, you know, we wouldn't be musically where we are, and that's the truth, you know. So Rory was a total inspiration. He was the first to hold a festival in Ireland, a fully fledged blues rock festival. You know, no one had ever done it before. Again, he beat the trend there and started that up, and he was one of the first people to come in here and said, yeah, I'll come in and headline the festival and help. You know, it's a whole industry, as you know, Lisa, you know, with promoters and agents to get back, you know. So he was very much the instigator of all of that, and Ireland was put on the map musically by Rory, you know, and people became aware then, and record companies became aware, and look at the success of U2. They became one of the world's biggest bands, you know. So, and if it hadn't been for the likes of Rory, that would have never happened. I think even the guys in U2 will turn around and say, you know, we went to see Rory and he inspired us. I think Adam, the bass player from U2, actually went to that very first festival as a punter to watch Rory play, and he said it inspired me to put our band together and do that. So, you know, Rory was a trailblazer, let's put it that way.
Yeah, and then, you know, also looking at Thin Lizzy, you toured and opened for them, right? You did a lot of touring with them. Yeah,
that was really funny, Lisa. What happened was we were starting out, it was the very early days of the Mama's Boys, and we got booked, believe it or not, don't laugh, to play at a matchmaking festival.
No, I'm gonna laugh. That's funny. Well, you got matched to Thin Lizzy, so that's good.
Yeah, we had a matchmaking festival in Ireland, and Philip, believe it or not, Philip Lynott from Thin Lizzy was doing his solo album at the time, and Philip had a guest spot at this festival, and he knew our manager and happened to come up on the stage when we were actually playing. And he said to Joe, our manager, who's these guys here, you know, playing? And Joe said, oh, they're a little band that they're just starting out and I'm looking after them. And he said, bloody hell, they're good, you know. And from that, he said to Joe, look, Joe, he said, ring my office on Monday. I would like to bring those guys on tour with our farewell tour. So that's really how that came about. It was a stroke of luck and through the kindness of Philip that we actually ended up we actually did their farewell tour all throughout Europe and the UK and Ireland. And because of that, we actually got signed after that then, you know, to a major record label. So it was a pretty awesome time for us, you know. It happened so quickly, you know, from playing in our garage. I'm from a farm, really, you know, so we were farmers' boys, you know. And we would play in the hay shed, you know. I set up our little instruments and amplifiers and did that. And because there was nobody local who was into the kind of music we were into. We came to it late, Lisa, you got to realise. I was 17 or 18 before I actually discovered rock and roll at all. You know, before that I had just played my brother John, who was the bass player in the band. He played the Uilleann pipes, or Uilleann pipes, that's how you pronounce them. And my brother Tommy was the bodhrán player, and I played the violin and the acoustic guitar. So we went along to see a band called Horslips, which integrated Irish music with rock music, and that just blew our minds, and that was the start of it for us then. I went home and delegated out the instruments. I said, I'm playing the lead guitar, and Tommy, my youngest brother, you're on drums, and John, my middle brother, you're on bass and vocals, and that's how it was just purely for fun, Lisa, and it just developed from there on in.
It's like Dylan went electric. You guys started like, that's it, we're rocking, we're changing the sound. But it's
exactly the same scenario. We were just blown apart blown away by the Horslips and the power that generated. And I think we were fit to relate to it because, you know, they had snippets of Irish music in rocked up, you know. I mean, they were the forefathers of Celtic rock, let's put it that way.
Yeah, you know, and Celtic rock to me, it's just because you got to think a lot of the Celtic music. And I was talking to a friend the other day. I said, oh, you know, we've done a lot like Scottish Highland Games out in this country. It's a huge deal. And there's some fantastic bands. One of them, Tempest, is called Tempest. And they take all the different Celtic, they rock it out. And they'll go to like the different games. And some of the traditionalists were like, well, that's not Celtic music, or that's not Scottish, that's not this. But it was. And it got younger people interested in the traditional. You need rock and roll to shake things up a bit to start discovering, well, what are the roots, you know? And people loved it.
That's really interesting that you said you're the only person that has ever actually said that to me, because I always say that, because all the kids that were into Horslips wouldn't have listened to folk or Celtic music, and they went back to the source of it all and actually became really good players themselves. So, I totally concur and agree with what you're saying there. It is absolutely true. If they're into that band, they'll go back and source the other stuff, and I may some great musicians have developed out of that because of that, that would have said to me, we would have never, ever attained the idea of playing folk music, and they became folksters, It was fantastic.
Mm. Yeah, and that's, I think, also in the folk side of it, right? In the traditional music, even the dances were more like towards exercise and technique for war, going to war. I mean, if you look at Scottish music, I mean, all the dance and the Irish, it's all connected, right? But it was really the men who were doing
very
the
much
dancing.
so.
Yeah, really connected. But
and
go ahead.
It's very interesting that you say that, because on my grandmother's side, we actually all come from the very north of Scotland. So they brought their tradition and their tunes across to Northern Ireland, and so a lot of the tunes that are played here are of Scottish background. It's very interesting that, So a lot of the tunes we play here in Northern Ireland are quite different to what they play down, say, further south of Ireland, and because that's a lot of the Scottish came across to settle in Northern Ireland, and they brought the tradition with them. So we have a tendency to play more in the Scottish style than we do in, say, like a Southern Ireland style. There is a marked difference between the two types. So I totally agree with what you're saying there, And of course, it was here. It was very interesting. You said that it's all very geared towards dancing.
Yeah, dancing.
Right, whereas in further south in Ireland, it's kind of geared more towards people listening, to the music. But the type that we play, it's more geared towards people getting up and having a good time and dancing to the music, So there's sort of varied styles, but it's all wonderful stuff at the end of the day,
Yeah, and it's got that energy. That's where that adrenaline is. And, when you think about this, like, Bang Bang, the Pyromaniac one, it's like, okay, that is like, you're getting on your horse and going, you know what I mean? It's like, you are not looking back. It is forward march, but it's, to me, when you look at the traditional things too, like all those little techniques that go into a song, it's all the folk music. Those techniques are incredible, and they teach you speed. They teach you subtleties. And I think that's, listening to your music and your guitar playing, which is fantastic. It's, off the charts, just incredible. I think, just for me, I think a lot of your sounds come from understanding those sensitivities of folk music.
Well, you know something, Lisa? I think it's ignorance, because I'm completely self-taught on the guitar, right? I had no one to show me at all. So what I did was, because I've been playing the violin or the fiddle from I was a kid, I just tried to the knowledge that I had from playing the violin, I tried to incorporate that on the guitar. And that's the only sort of guidance I had as regards to playing the guitar. The rest of it, I just purely learned myself. So I whatever little bit of information I had and technique I had on the violin, I just tried to apply it to the guitar, and that's how my particular style came across. So it was just through. I didn't have books and I didn't have teachers, because we're out in the countryside or from a farm. You were miles away from anybody that would be fit to do that or teach you. So you just kind of through trial and error, you just discovered and made mistakes on the guitar. But eventually I tried to apply what I knew on the violin onto the guitar, and it worked. For me, it worked, So I was quite pleased in the end, because, as I said, I was always geared towards very much the melodic side of guitar playing, I'm in awe of all these very, very fast wizard guitar players. They're totally amazing. But for me, it always came back to a feel thing, and just try to communicate with people, because that's the background I grew up in with folk music, is you try to really tell a wee story and try to reach people, whether they be funny or sad. But that's how you try and touch people. And to me, I just applied what I knew on the violin to the guitar, which wasn't much, but it did help in many respects.
I think I can't wait, number one, for everyone, that all the audience, if they haven't heard these songs, to hear this album, because it's, to me, you've got a little bit of everything in there, of sensitivities, of styles, different, sounds, and that's exciting to me. I would love to see you perform with Paul Nelson. He's a guitarist, a blues rock guitarist and producer, and incredible. I don't know if you've heard his music, but I would love to see
No, I
the two of
haven't. No,
you.
I'm not aware, Lisa. No.
Yeah, he is incredible. He really did a lot with Johnny Winters. I just so much. I just really think, yeah, there's just a thing on
Was
that.
he, was he the secondary guitar player with Johnny Winter towards the end of his
Yes,
towards
yeah,
the
he
end
was
of
as
Johnny's career?
Johnny Winters is his mentor. He's works like with Buddy Guy, and it just,
Oh,
you guys.
I know who you're talking. I know who you're talking about now. He is totally awesome. Yes, I know him. Yes.
Yeah,
So he's also a producer, is he? Yeah.
yeah, and I just listening to his music, and and even your voices, I would love, because you're completely different, but there's some sensitivity and a certain vibe, let's put it that way, that I would love to see the two of you just totally jam off. I think you guys would be just, it would be so badass. It really would be. I
Yes,
just,
no, I am now very aware of him because I was a huge Johnny Winter
oh
fan.
yeah.
So I became aware. I was going, who's this other guitar player playing with
Mhm.
Johnny? He's totally awesome. Because they would come out first and play a little bit before Johnny would come on,
Mhm.
And I was just blown away by the guy, I was just going, this guy is just totally, totally freaky, man. He's fantastic. Where has he come from,
Yeah. Yeah, he's nice, and he just did a thing with Samantha Fish. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. I love to see guitarists get together and just kind of riff off of each other, because it's just I think there's an elevation that happens in music when you have two really, amazing guitarists get together, and in all instruments in music, there's this learning from each other, challenging each other, but doing it out of, it's positive. You know what I mean? It's not mean,
Yeah.
but there's
No, and doing it out of love and respect for each other, because that's to me the most important thing. I played with some great guitar players in the past, and every single one of them were total gentlemen and always encouraged you and always tried to, to get the best out of you, I've been in cases where I've been playing with some amazing, absolutely blind guitar players, but they held back, They held back and did, in the jam, and you just think, these guys are really sweet because, they're not out to show that, oh, I'm the greatest gunslinger, ever, They just said, we're doing it for the music and to get up on stage together and have a really good time, because at the end of the day, music is a universal language, and to be fit to get up on stage and play and shine together is the most important. It's about the love of and the feeling you get from playing music like that together. I've been incredibly lucky to have sort of jammed with the likes of Uli John Roth from the Scorpions, and we all know what a great player Uli is. But he's just a wonderful person and a wonderful human being. When you get up on the stage and he gives you time to get up there and do your thing as well, there's no like, look at me, here I am, there's nobody else like me. Everybody gets their turn and everybody gets to jam. And, at the end of the day, that's what I loved about music in the first place, was getting together with my brothers and just jamming, having fun. And getting excited about the music, and getting off on the music, To me, that's the payoff when that actually happens. So yes, I've been very fortunate, and I love it when those situations arise. When you get to get up and have a little jam, because you don't ever really know where it's going to go,
No.
and sometimes it just flies off into a different zone altogether, and it's a wonderful feeling when that happens.
I love it. And as a audience member, you just, that energy that comes from it, you don't know where it's going to go. And we're all along for that ride. That's what I really, live music. I'm so glad to see it happening again, and it's happening, and then it's not happening. It's kind of up, down, all around. How's it over for you? I was looking on your website. It seems that you've got a lot of shows booked, gigs booked, and everyone go to patmcmanus.co.uk for that. But it looks like you're getting back out there after this. Well, I don't know what's going on
I
with
mean,
COVID. It's up, down, all around, right?
let's say, yeah, well, let's say at least we're taking baby steps at the minute. We have done some shows, but it's all very socially distanced, and everybody's been really careful. So, as you just said there, we don't really know where this is going to end up yet. But yes, people, we are getting back out there again, and trying to take baby steps, tentative steps towards getting back to normality. But I think, people have to be careful at the end of the day. And so we do what gigs we can, and we try to reach what people we can as often as we can, but stay within the rules of the regulations, and make sure that everybody's safe, first of all, So that's what we're aiming to do at the moment. And we have done about, in the last 4 weeks, we've done about 7-8 shows, So that's really been, and it's really something great for me as well, because it means it gives me something to really look forward to, and to get my chops together and get my guitar playing up to speed, So it gives me the will to do something as well, which is fantastic. And it's just lovely to be out there playing to people and playing to people who appreciate it. A lot of people have said to me at those gigs, we just didn't realize, how much we valued our freedom till we actually got locked down, and then you realize you can't do anything,
Right.
So a lot of people have said, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to go out to music a lot more now because of the fact that, hey, we just took it for granted in the past, and now, it's much more sacred to us now. We're going to go out and enjoy and encourage the musicians and help the musicians along the way by going to these concerts, So I think that's, from that point of view, it's wonderful.
And I know you're doing gigs over in England, and I was going to ask you, with going to Europe, is it different for you? One band we just did a segment with, Starlight Campbell Band. They're from England, and they travel. They're kind of like Nancy and I, a little bit of a vagabond to travel, nomads, and they are in Lisbon right now. And to come back over to the UK to perform has become a big mess because of Brexit, and even getting their gear, getting their gear over borders and having to have these big checklists, and it's like a whole different thing. Is it different for you being in Northern Ireland and being able to?
Yeah, it is, because Lisa, I'm very fortunate, and my band, the rest of the boys in the band are very fortunate, because we have dual citizenship. We have a Southern Ireland passport and a Northern Ireland. We have a British passport and a Republic of Ireland passport. We have both. So once we produce the Southern Ireland passport, who are still part of the EU, that we don't have to worry about any of that. So we are quite fortunate, on the island of Ireland, that actually works like that. So, I was allowed to have 2 passports. I can have one from the south, one from the north, and, if I'm going to the UK, I just use my UK passport, and if I'm going to Europe, I can use my Republic of Ireland passport, and there's no questions asked,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Stamped.
Well, that's cool. Well, I hope you get to the States sometime soon, because I want to see you perform live. I'm like, I want that. But right now we've got the album, which
Lisa,
is fantastic.
I would love to go there. I really, really would. Believe it or not, my dad was actually born in New York.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was actually born in New York, of course, of Irish parents. But they did the strange thing back in the late 1930s. They actually came back to Ireland, which was unusual, as most people were leaving Ireland and going to America.
Yeah.
But in their instance, they actually came back to Ireland. But I do remember my dad. He was about 9 or 10 when he came back, and I remember him talking to me and telling me, because he was also a very, very good musician. He played the saxophone, and he played the violin, and he played the guitar. And my mum was also a good singer, and they were always involved in an amateur capacity in music, So my dad had the farm, but he also played on the sidelines. Sometimes he was playing 4 or 5 nights a week. So there was always music in the house. So, and he kept his American citizenship. I know I went slightly off tangent there, but what I'm saying, he kept his American citizenship. He never had a vote here in Northern Ireland. So, sadly,
Wow.
he passed away now, but it would have meant that for us, it would have been easier to get into America, because, you have all the visas and stuff to get like that there. So never say never. You never know. We might make it across the old Atlantic there to America. I'd love to have one more hurrah and have one more tour over there. It would be totally awesome to be fit to come to you guys over there and play. I mean, you know, it's the home of rock and roll after all, you know, and you have to say, you know, I've played there, I've been there, I played my little guitar over there, which would be totally awesome.
Hey, come on tour with us. I mean, that's all we're doing. I think we've crossed the country 4 times this year already. Just in the
Lisa, don't encourage us too much, Lisa. You might never get rid of us.
We're all fine. Just keep playing. I'll keep driving. That's all good. I'll drive. I'm good at it. I'm really good at it now. But no, this is awesome. I do want to ask though, with this album, because it really, like you say, you know, it has such a live feel, and you've got all new songs and you've got old songs from the Mama's Boys days. Writing the music itself, I mean, you know, even especially being self-taught, you know, there's people who go through all the lessons and do all the little fancy notes and actually can just sit and write notes. And then there's computer programs, and there's how do you write albums? Like, how do you write your songs?
Just basically, I have an acoustic guitar, and I come up with an idea, and if I almost treat it like I said, search it. It's like mining for gold, you know. I get a little nugget of a riff or a little idea, and what I'll do is I grab my phone, and I'll just switch record on the phone, and I'll just put it away, you know. And I go, that might be a tasty little idea I can develop later, and that's actually how I write. And then I go back and revisit those little ideas that I've had, and I'll sort out the ones that are absolute rubbish that I thought was a good idea at the time, and I discard those, and I pursue then the little ideas that excite me, and then I try to develop them into the songs, and that's how I actually write. It's not, you know, I don't sit down with a pen and paper and notate the notes out, and if I put this note here and that note at that, you know, on that stave there, that this might work. I just do it like that there. So I always see it as almost like mining for the little nuggets of gold, and I'm always searching. I'm always lifting up the guitar, you know. It's out of my room, and I'll just disappear for 10 minutes, and I lift it up, and when you do that, something happens each time, and if it's worth pursuing, then I'll quickly put the little idea down on my phone, and then I'll move on and with life, as you do, and get back to doing what I normally do, and then, you know, later I'll revisit those and develop the ideas for songs, and that's how I actually do it, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, because it's just, I think with you guys being like a 3-piece band, that it's got to be that, you know, you're not diluting it. It's got to be, it's pure music, you know, and it's got to catch, you know, because there's no, you can't dress it up. You know?
No, you can't dress it up. And plus the fact then, you know, if as we say, we have a saying over here, Lisa, if you gild the lily too much, then when people come to the gig, then they go, well, this sounds nothing like the album, you know. So we tend to try and be as honest as we possibly can, because then we know we can replicate it or duplicate it live, and we think, great, you know, that's an honest appraisal of what we do. You know, that's as honestly as close to the album as we can do, because that's why we don't get too technical on the recording side of it, because it's just, to us, we're a 3-piece band, and people come to the gigs, then they pretty much know what they're going to get then, you know, from the album, but because we haven't sort of overproduced the album, and we've just laid it down honestly, you know, so we can manage to recreate that live. And to me, that's very, very important, you know, because at the end of the day, you want people going away from the gig saying, oh, that was great, you know, and the songs are pretty close to what they do on the albums, you know.
Yeah, I like that. I love the fact that you have such a live feeling on the album, and that's just because you're just playing pure music, you know. It's like, go for it. I always wonder, like, how bands like ABBA did their live shows. Did people, you know, there's just like, they were so they were just so much, their recording process was so behind the scenes and add this, and I respect it. And now they're doing another album, which I wonder, like, how do you go up and perform like that?
I think in their instance, they had about 20 musicians on stage.
Jesus, God, you know how many egos that are? That's like a lot of egos to do.
Oh no, I can appreciate that.
Yeah, no.
I can understand that, but at the end of the day, you know, it's them they've come to see. So, you know, regardless, with technology today, you could possibly reproduce that quite easier, you know. But back then, you had to gather up the musicians. So I suppose in many respects, it was a good living for some of the musicians who
that's a good thing.
were playing with.
Yeah, no.
You know, so it's given somebody somebody the exposure, and also, you could write, not many musicians could put on their CV, I actually was a musician for ABBA, and they go, wow,
Yeah. I mean, they were a good band, and they still are a good band. I mean, they did, it's not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but they really are good writers. They are, good vocalists.
Totally amazing. You hear the songs and they just stand up so well today all the time. The recording techniques, the sound of the song, you just go, these guys were geniuses, just total genius. Whether you like that genre of music or not, but, any musician will honestly hold up their hands and go, fair game, these guys are totally awesome, and they are. You don't get to where they are without being totally awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting, those kind of bands, like, we always listen to the radio when we get into a town or an area and try to get the local albums, not the ones that play Hotel California till like to death, literally. They just play the same playlist over and over. But if you get in a university town, normally you'll hear some really good music, and they'll play the B-sides, instead of always the same song. But, we heard, I mean, out of the blue, they were playing the Carpenters. I mean, I'm going, oh my God, listen to her voice, Karen Carpenter, and as a drummer and singing. I had to end up revisiting the Carpenters all over again, just from this one song on the radio that you never hear those guys anymore. And they really, that woman had a voice, and to be able to sing like that and play drums at the same time, to me, was amazing.
I don't know whether you were, but we're very aware of them over here in Ireland, and people just absolutely love them. And still to this day, you still hear them on the radio here. And the minute it comes on the radio, you just go, that's Karen Carpenter. She was just a one-off, She was too good for this world, really. I mean, you think of the talent, and it's on another level. There's musicians, and then there's super musicians, and she was there. That's where she was. I mean, as you said, her drumming. I mean, my brother Tommy loved her drumming. He was absolutely raving about her as a drummer. He just said the things she's doing. I'm not a drummer, but he would explain to me. And he said, "Do you realize what she's actually doing here?" And I'm going, "No." And he goes, "Well, let me tell you," he says, "as a drummer, it's incredible." He goes, So she was, and it's lovely to hear that. That's the great thing about college towns like that. They will play a real eclectic mix of music, and that's the way music should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, no one expected to tune in to listen to a blues rock guitarist talk about ABBA on our show, Karen Carpenter. But good music is good music. I don't care the genre.
That's the way I always looked at it. It doesn't matter what genre it is. You hold your hands up and go, this is fantastic, And, I think any musician across the board that is a serious musician will hold their hands up and go, yeah, we love this. We love this. Because they appreciate the art, the talent, and the amount of work that went into getting that good, Because believe you me, it doesn't just, happen overnight. You have to work at something like that, And the likes of her, she really worked hard at her craft and her art and became one of the greatest in the world. So, it speaks volumes for what she did, that it still stands up like this today. It's incredible.
It's amazing. Well, on that note, last question, and it's been so much fun talking with you and getting into your music. It's going to be very loud in Georgia today. But anyway, I do want to ask this for guitarists starting up now. Any words of wisdom or tips for someone getting started now? Because I know that people are scared of the music industry the way it is now, with the way streaming versus albums, and there is some light at the end of the tunnel on that too, but it's a scary time to think of being a musician, So any tips for them?
Well, I can only go by what we did in the early days. We were so excited about playing the music and being allowed out. We thought it was a great honor for us to be fit to play in any venue at any time, and in whatever circumstances we were in. We seen always that as an achievement and a goal. And I think, first of all, just believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will believe in it. You have to first and foremost follow your heart and believe in it. And if you believe long enough and hard enough at it, you will win. There's no mistake about it. And I totally believe that. And I just want to see the younger generation of musicians coming through, that go on to make careers in music. Because let's face it, without music, we're snookered, as we say here in Ireland.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to run. It's the universal language of the world. It breaks down so many barriers. And without the younger generation coming through like that, we're lost. It will be an art form that will be gone, but I don't think that'll ever happen.
No.
Regardless of what kind of genre it is, it's great to see the youth of today it's keeping music alive in whatever art form it comes in. Music is music, and if it touches people and reaches people and means something to somebody, well, then you've won. So keep that faith, believe in yourself first and foremost, and things will happen.
I love it. I love you. Thank you so much, Pat, for joining us. Everyone, again, Pat McManus .co.uk is the website. The album is Full Service Resumed. It's an awesome title. It's an awesome album. Go get it. And we want to thank our sponsor, Norfolk Tours over in England, Bespoke Tours. Glenn Burrows is the owner and tour guide, and he helps people trace their family history anywhere in England. He may hop over to Ireland. You never know with Glenn. But he helps people. If you want to go over to see gardens, he'll take you to see gardens. If you want to do family history or World War II airfields, he is there for you. So check it out. Go to norfolk-tours.co.uk, and you can also hear him on Big Blend Radio. And our site is bigblendradio.com. Thank you so much. And here it is. We're going to play Belfast Boy now because we've got to for Gary Moore. So here it is, Belfast Boy. Thank you so much, Pat. It's been a real pleasure.
And Lisa, thanks to you too. I really enjoyed our chat. I hope I didn't witter on too much.
No, you didn't. Not at all.
Thank you very much.
Of the city,